Hey everybody, Ericka Redic here at MindsFest, and I am the most excited to come to you with Mr. Jimmy Dore. Thank you, sir, for joining me this evening.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic stand-up show. For people who don't know, for people who are just familiar with your show, like on YouTube and online, you're actually a very, very talented stand-up comedian too.
Well, I've been a comedian for at least 30 years and had a couple of stand-up specials on Comedy Central, one on Hulu, and my most recent one is COVID Lies Are Funny, which is at jimmydore.com.
Super good. Okay. Super good. Okay, now you started out as a comedian.
Yeah.
But you didn't do political stuff at first.
Right. No, I got into it. Let's see. How did that happen? Well, there's a place called the UCB Theater in Los Angeles, and they asked me to do a show that wasn't stand-up, so I had to come up with something. And at the time, I was watching a lot of TV news. It was right after the Iraq War. Oh. And so I just couldn't get over how the news was bullshit. And so I just started using clips from the news. And, of course, that's just a lot of politics. And the next thing I know, I got a special on Comedy Central called Citizen Jimmy, which was all politics. And then I got a radio show on public radio in Los Angeles. And then I started working with the Young Turks.
Yep.
And then that was it. The rest is history.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with Generally Irritable is create comedic content, whether it's funny songs or comedic shorts, because I feel like comedy is the best way to communicate. Art is really the best way to communicate anything. But generally speaking, you know, comedians, you mentioned in your show tonight, you guys are supposed to be the truth tellers. You guys are the ones who are supposed to be out there.
They became propagandists during COVID. It's crazy. They shame people for questioning authority. That's the opposite of comedy. It was very crazy. It was a very tough time for me.
I think a lot of people lost friends, lost their support system in that.
Yes.
Did you ever, when you started comedy 30 years ago, I think you just said.
That's right.
Would you have ever in a million years thought that your cohorts would have been kowtowing the government?
No, that's, I'm telling you, it was a shocker. That's why I talk about it in my act. It was a heartbreaker. It was a shocker. And at least I get to make fun of it.
That's right. And you get to make some great content out of it. So if you could... Oh, this was the one thing I wanted to tell you. One of the things that I respect you the absolute most for, and it changed my perspective on politics, and it changed the way I looked at people that I disagree with. Your interview with Tucker Carlson 2 years, I think it was like 2 years ago, the first one you did where you were on his show.
Okay.
Maybe a year, 2 years ago. And I watched you guys talk for that hour or however long it was, and you agreed on like 90%. What is wrong, what the problem is, whatever. And it seemed like it was like a policy disagreement. Who is responsible? It was like nitpicking what you guys disagreed on.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker, one of the best things that ever happened is they took away Tucker's advertisers. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how they tried to get rid of him, the people who don't like him. They did that with Glenn Beck, and it worked. But it didn't work with Tucker because his program was so popular that the cable stations the cable providers have to pay Fox News to carry their shows. And so many people watched Tucker that they made enough money off that it was worth keeping. And so so when they took away his advertisers, he was freed up to start telling the truth about war and Syria and COVID. And the last truth he talked about, he brought on Bobby Kennedy to tell the truth about big pharma and vaccines. And that's when they fired him. So don't forget, you don't get in trouble for lying in corporate news. You get promoted. You get in trouble for telling the truth. That's why Julian Assange's in prison. That's why Edward Snowden is in Russia. That's why Tucker Carlson got fired. That's why Jesse Ventura, they never gave him his show on MSNBC because he was going to tell the truth about the Iraq War. Ashley Banfield, Phil Donahue, he got fired because he was telling the truth about the Iraq War. So you don't get in trouble for lying. You get in trouble for telling the truth. And that's also true on YouTube.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Dore, thank you again. Welcome to Texas, first of all.
Oh, it's a blast. I always love coming here. I was in El Paso last night. I'll be in San Antonio tomorrow. Ooh. Austin's always fun. I'll be back.
All right, you guys. San Antonio tomorrow. Go check it out. Jimmy Dore, thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great night.
My pleasure.
Oh, here.
My pleasure. Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
I appreciate it.